Yeah, I mean, it only needs 1 megabit up. Oh, look at that. It's sort of going. Cool. All right. That's the wrong website. Sorry. I have an office here. I don't have a key to it for lots of reasons. I'm a new full-time faculty member as of last year, and onboarding in the pandemic was crazy. So I don't plan on being there at all anyway. It's a small room with poor ventilation. So I'm going to do office hours virtually if you folks want to meet. But this is my cell number. I have a number there at my desk, but again, I never go, so I'm not going to check it. So you're welcome to call me, text me. You can find me on Discord, email, all sorts of different ways to communicate, and you should be able to get a hold of me. The link to my Discord server is here. So if you're not familiar with Discord, it's just a little chat program. It works really nice. It's on my phone, so I get notified anytime people post something in the server there. And it's got different rooms for all the different classes, so you can go hang out and see what's going on there. For people who are opting to be more virtual, that's the great place to go and ask questions, because then everyone else will see your question and see the answer. Just like if you were in here in person asking a question, everyone else would hear it and hear the answer. So definitely encourage you to post your questions there. If not, email, text, whatever you want to do is fine. So we're meeting till about 11:45 or so. It might be 11:50. I forgot to double check that. 11:50? Okay, I'll fix that.
Yeah, but like 5 minutes after.
And I think we're the only ones in the room here most of the time, so there's no class coming in after us, which would be nice. So again, attend in person if you want, attend live on Twitch if you want, or come check out the VODs on YouTube. They're available on Twitch for about 45 days and then they fall off. So whichever you prefer, actually, you can watch the recordings there. You can use any username and handle you want in live chat. You can use any username and handle you want in Discord. Discord's public as well, so you can use whatever you're comfortable with there. I don't require attendance for lectures. So again, it kind of goes with the flex format. You're probably not going to do as well if you don't actually watch them, though. Hopefully that just makes sense. The catalog description, I'm not going to read that to you. Hopefully you saw that when you registered for the class. You're all here for 1,500, right? Okay, good. So some of the things we're going to do in the class, these outcomes are actually standard across all the sections of 1,500 that are taught and get assessed. It's an interesting process. We'll learn how to use an integrated development environment, that's IDE, to write code, specifically Java. We're going to learn how to edit, compile, run a program, and use the debugger. The debugger will be your best friend. Right? Debugging your code is like the coolest thing we can do, and walk through it step by step and see all the things the computer sees. I'll learn about constants and variables with primitive data types, understand the use of the variables, related operators, type conversions, basic input and output operations. This is how we write code, and then input and output is reading and writing to disk. We'll do some of that, which is a lot of fun. Java code that uses branching and loops, flow controls. There's a whole chapter on that we'll get into. Disk files again. Okay, I didn't write these, I'm sorry. I got these inherited. Write Java classes. This is when code becomes a lot more abstract. We'll start talking about classes. I'm a big fan of it. Some people have a hard time conceptually with what a class is supposed to do, and that's a struggle for some people, and that's okay. It's a different way of thinking about code, and we're not going to start it till about halfway in. I will make objects of the class, understand the concept of scope. I will talk about inheritance, just some core concepts. If you're continuing on in the software engineering program, we'll pick this up more in the 2151 course next. But we're going to talk a little bit about it so that we can do the next cool stuff, writing graphical user interface programs with event handling. So before we get to graphical user interface programs where you can use a mouse, everything's going to happen at the console. It's like the command line. It's really boring, but we got to start there because we have to learn all the tools before we get to graphical user interface programs with buttons and things to click on. So the first 8, 9, 10 weeks are all at the console, and then we'll pick up the last month or so graphical user interfaces. And we'll also look at arrays and array lists in the Java API. Oh, don't worry, it doesn't have to make sense right now. But those are the things we're going to look at. We're going to use Murak's Java Programming Book, the 5th edition. This is a new book to us this semester. It's cheaper than the previous book, that was almost $200 because it was Pearson. Murak's a nice little independent publisher. They do a nice job. So he's got an ISBN for the physical book or the digital book, whichever you prefer. It's perfectly fine. It's all going to work for you. You can find it at the OCC bookstore or anywhere you want to find things. I use a lot of supplemental material. Other options here. Hey, look at that. Professor Peters in chat here. That's fun. I gotta remember to watch over here now. My usual setup. I got 2 monitors at home. This is all different. So Github is a source control tool. It's designed and used widely in the industry. It's probably the most popular source control tool in the industry today. This is where code is kept. So instead of you attaching files to Desire to Learn and uploading things and emailing things, everything is going to go in GitHub where code's supposed to go. And I'll talk you through it all. It's not too bad. But you'll need to make a GitHub account on github.com. Again, use any username you want. You want to use an email address that you actually check, though, because it'll send you emails for things and links and whatnot. So you want to not use a burner email address for this one. The GitHub desktop client is how we interact with GitHub to get our files out there. Again, we'll go through all that. Don't worry about too much about it. So that's a free download as well. Discord for office hours, other general class questions, great. A web browser that anyone is fine. Netbeans is our IDE. This is our integrated development environment. We're going to use this to code in Java. If you've done some programming before and you like a different IDE, you're welcome to use it. I've had people use VS Code for things. Someone liked Eclipse. It's all fine. I'm using Netbeans because that's what's installed here. We're going to use the OpenJDK. So a while back, Oracle bought Java, and then the kind folks at Oracle said they want to license Java, which had never been done before because it was always an open source language for free for everyone. And now people have to pay to use it. It was not even a huge fee, but it's gross. It wasn't supposed to happen like that, and I'm not a fan of Oracle. So we're going to use the OpenJDK, which is the free-to-use version. You're welcome to use the Oracle version because as a student, you're not going to sell your code or do anything with it, so you can use it for free with their license. But this way we don't have to worry about any licensing. We're going to use the OpenJDK. Along with that, the OpenJFX when we get to our graphical user interface applications. I'll show you how to install all of it. And then we're going to use the Scenebuilder tool to do our graphical user interfaces, another free tool as well. And all that's installed on the virtual desktop. So if you want to connect to the virtual desktop from home, you can follow this link here. You can install that Horizon VMware client yourself. You'll connect to the same desktops and things you do from here. So hopefully it'll work out pretty nice. The Horizon VMware client does have a web browser version. IT doesn't recommend you use it. If that's the only thing you can do, go for it, but it's not going to work as well as the actual downloading the client. And all this works on Mac. If you folks are Mac people or Apple people, it'll all work for you. I don't have one myself, but it's generally pretty straightforward. For the course here, my policy on plagiarism and cheating, anybody engaging in academic dishonesty immediately fails the course. It's a huge pet peeve of mine when people cheat. You should not cheat and get a degree because it devalues the degree for everyone else who gets it. Because then when you go get hired, you're not going to know how to do anything, and they're going to think we did a terrible job teaching you here at OCC. So if I find that you've cheated or engaged in academic dishonesty, which is most common plagiarism, where you take someone else's code and you turn it in with your name on it, right? Just like when you write an English paper, if you turn in someone else's work without citing it, that's plagiarism. Same thing happens with code. I know there's all sorts of code online. I'm not stupid. I know there's Stack Overflow. I know there's a website called Chegg. Chegg is the worst place in the world. I despise them, hope they get sued and go out of business because they are awful. So any use of Chegg at all is academic dishonesty. Do not go there at all, right? You will immediately fail the course just for going to the Chegg website. Like this is a huge pet peeve of mine. And other sites like Course Hero and all that nonsense, right? It's not hard to do the work. And you're going to do the work and you're going to learn from it. If someone else does the work, you're not going to get anything out of it, right? And that's just cheating the whole system. So it's possible I might not catch you, right? I've probably not caught people before, but I did have one semester I had to fail 8 people for cheating on their final project. Like, it's a lot of paperwork for me. I have to fill out, I have to send stuff to my dean, and it takes me a lot of time when I should be doing other more important things, and it just irritates me. So If you're not sure, just ask, right? If you're not sure, ask me. I'll show you how to cite code. I go find code online all the time. I'll show you. We just leave a note. Here's where I got it from. That's citing your source, like an English paper. Here, I'm citing my source. That's fine. That's not plagiarism. Okay? So it's not that you can't go online and find things, but you have to cite your source. Yeah, this is, if in my judgment it's academic dishonesty, it goes to the dean. And from there, it's out of my hands. And I believe I still have to actually meet my dean at some point. The college has a 3-strike policy, so the dean tracks it college-wide for you folks. And after 3 violations of academic integrity college-wide, you are expelled and no longer welcome to be a student here. So the college does take this relatively seriously as well. You know, everyone gets a first chance, typically a second. I disagree with that, but that's okay. So, okay. The student code of conduct, this is just a copy paste out of the handbook. What everyone seems to care about, how you get your grade for the course. So there are going to be 4 individual projects we work on throughout the semester. That'll make up 35% of your score. So all the projects except the very first one, which is like a nothing project, you'll have 2 weeks to work on. So there's time to work on it, plan accordingly. I don't take things late because I go over the solutions in class. So once I've gone over a solution, I'm not going to take it from you. Yeah, sure. I'll have quizzes for every chapter. These are open book, open note quizzes. They're not timed. They have a due date, but like you can open it and close it, open and close, come back to it all week. They'll make up 10% of your score. This is your incentive to read the book. It should be 10% of your grade, free points, just for opening the book. It's all going to come out of the book and things that I say. So please do some reading. I've had people buy books before and never open them, and it just makes me really sad. So the course textbook is your main reference for all things Java. What I'm going to do up front here is try and give you the highlights, give you the important things, give you other examples that are not from the book. So I know some people like to go through book PowerPoints and things. I hate that. I think PowerPoint's the worst because it's just, as soon as they put a slide up, you all start reading it and you stop listening. And then what's the point? Right? So I'm not going to use any PowerPoint. I'll upload the book PowerPoints for you folks. If you like that as here's the highlights, you can go through it at your own pace. That's perfectly fine. But the quizzes are for you. Free points if you read the book, essentially. That's the goal here. So you should get some points just for reading. I will have 1 exam. It's a midterm exam worth 15%. I tried to make this as low as possible because I hate exams. I think they're a terrible way to measure if you can learn things or not. But they give me funny looks if I don't have any exams at all in my syllabus. So just 1 midterm exam. It won't be too bad. This one is typically time bound, but you'll have the whole class period to take it. And it shouldn't be too bad. Still, I'll check on the format of that one. So you won't have to be in person. The midterm is open book, open notes, open internet, because I'm trying to do things half virtual, and I don't want to walk around and make sure you're not on websites. So, and as a software developer, you make a lot of money, and no one has ever asked me to memorize anything. They've never said, you have to code this, and please don't look online. Please don't use your resources. That's stupid. So the midterm, all the tests, all the quizzes, open book, open notes, because that's how you're going to actually write code in the real world. So that's what I care. So know where it is, and then you can go look it up. And then the final project is worth 40%. So no final exam, just a final project. The last month of class we'll be working on this. So without this final project, there's no passing. Right? But this is if you can put all the tools and things that we've learned together in the class, you'll be successful in the final project. The standard letter grade, this should be standard from the catalog, although I've seen some differences and that really confuses me. So I don't know if other people don't know how to copy paste or what, but so 94% and up is an A, 93% and below is an A minus, and on down. So if there's a particular letter you're targeting, that's the percentage you need to get. For the N grade, if you don't turn anything in 3 weeks, then you'll get an N grade. And that has repercussions for financial aid stuff. So we'll have a syllabus quiz this first week, and then we'll have Project Zero due next week. If you don't turn those in, you'll get an N. But you're all here, so you should be perfectly fine. Again, I don't take late work because I go over the answers. So once the project is due, I'll be going over it in class the next day or whatever the next period works out to be. So typically it's due right before class starts. So for our classes, it'll be 2 weeks at 10 a.m. for the next day, or the next period when that one is. And at 10 a.m. I'll go over the solution in class. Right, so do plan accordingly for that. All sorts of our standard disclaimers. Hopefully you've heard this everywhere. For FERPA, I won't tell you anything. I won't tell anyone else anything. I'll say, go look at Desire to Learn. Because you should be the only one with your username and password. That's where all your great information is. And it just makes life easy for me. For the American with Disabilities Act, if you have some registered disability, you need to go talk to the Access Office and make sure you do all the paperwork with them. They'll send me a notification, and then we can do any sort of reasonable accommodations. I'm happy to work with you. But it's got to go through the Access Office first to make sure it's all legal. Our Academic Support Center. This is one of the coolest things about OCC, I think. We have an entire office dedicated to academic support. They've got labs, they've got tutors, which are completely free. You can take a look at their tutoring schedule. I don't know if they put fall up yet, actually. We can take a look and see. So the Orchard Ridge tutoring schedule here. Coming soon. Okay. Soon. But anyways, you have free individual tutoring you can book with tutors. Okay, it's not free, but it's paid for, no additional fee, thanks to your tuition dollars and the tax dollars and all the funding OCC gets. So no additional fees for that. So you can book individual tutors. And then in addition to that, we also have Mr. Tim Vorse as a supplemental instructor. He's really more of a group tutor. So he's going to be dropping in on my Tuesday night class, and then he'll offer tutoring sessions. I think he said Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 2, I want to say, over Zoom. So you can do it from anywhere you want to be, rather than trying to come in person, which is always obnoxious if you're not here on campus at that date and time. So he'll offer sessions, group tutoring sessions, and he actually sits in on the class. He's been my supplemental instructor before. He's a phenomenal guy, really smart, and that's essentially a tutoring session, but the group. So as many people want to come and ask questions, go through that. And I do offer bonus points on the chapter quizzes if you attend a tutoring session, whether or not it's an individual tutoring session that you booked or the group tutor session with Mr. Tim. I think he also offers the individual sessions at other times too. I got to double check with him. I know he's kind of busy this semester. So he used to work in IT and they got his master's in math and retired out of industry. So he teaches math courses sometimes as well. For D2L, right, call the D2L support line if it's D2L related, like something doesn't load on the website. That's a D2L issue. Content is all me, right? If something's wrong with the actual content itself, that's me, right? Because I'm putting it all out there. Accessibility standards, fine. Our minimum required technical skills, don't expect a lot, but you should be able to use a web browser, should be able to work around D2L, know how to do basic word processing and presentation creation. I don't know why this one's in here. We're not going to present any PowerPoint or any fancy presentation. The final project you will present. So we'll all take turns showing off what our final project is. It's kind of interesting when we get to graphical user interface design, everyone does it a little bit different. So you'll see everyone kind of lays out things different ways. They put their button different places. It's really interesting to see how people design. There's a whole area of study on human-computer interaction and heuristics and usability and things. That's not a skill of mine. It's super interesting, but I've just never gotten into it. So my graphical user interface applications are ugly, and they get the job done, but they're ugly, right? And again, we're not going for something amazing and beautiful that millions of people around the world are going to use. And so it doesn't matter that much. And then file management and attachment. Working with the file system is going to be big when we get to using Netbeans and GitHub and things. So know how to open up folders and move files around. The accessibility page again. Our technology appropriate use regulations don't do stupid things on college resources. Otherwise, you'll lose access to those resources. And it's really hard to complete stuff if you don't have access to the computers here on campus or to the college network. Okay? Netiquette, go for it. We're not having weekly discussions throughout the course. This is, again, boilerplate template stuff. How's it going? You're here for 1500? Fantastic. A public safety department. We have our own amazing public safety department. They are badged police officers. They're super awesome. They had to open the door here because they don't have keys. But if you need anything, they've got their own little website here. Take a look at that. For grading, usually it's within a week. I'm going to try super hard to stick to it. If you've read any of the reviews, that did not happen throughout the pandemic because the pandemic has sucked. It's been really hard. I'm hoping this will be a little bit more back to normal as we're starting to be back here in person, and I can get back on a regular schedule, and the kids will be on a regular schedule, and hopefully life will go back to normal. So that's the goal. It should be within a week. If it's not, you're welcome to pester me. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'll get your stuff in as soon as I can. If it's going beyond that, I'll let you folks know. And then I'll respond to communications within 24 hours or less. It all goes to my phone, and I'm addicted to my phone. It's always on me, unless my son's watching YouTube on it. So I'll probably see it right away. I might not be able to get to it right away, but you should hear back from me relatively soon. And then the tentative course schedule. Again, I say tentative because it might need to change, but this is the plan. So today, course introduction, some of the tools. I'll show you how to install everything that we need, and then we'll actually get into the chapter material on Wednesday, starting with chapter 1. So if you don't have the book yet, don't worry about it. You don't need it today, but do go ahead and get that. You'll want it for Wednesday, or at least that week. We'll have that quiz coming up. You'll need the text. We don't have class next Monday for Labor Day, and then we're back up. Everything is fine. No interruptions until Thanksgiving week. We're off the entire week of Thanksgiving, which is kind of cool, instead of just like a Wednesday, Thursday thing. So the whole week, no classes, and then we'll come back. And so we have one last trailing Monday because we're off for Labor Day to make sure we meet the 30 times. So our final project presentations on December 20th here are mandatory. You can be in person, you can be on Zoom. And again, trying to be with that flex format. I know that it gets close to the holidays. If you are not here, we can arrange to do it another time if you happen to be traveling that time. But you must present, right? So ideally, everyone makes it to the group presentation. If you need to individually schedule someone with me, I'm open to that, but strongly prefer you in person, or we'll do a Zoom meeting so everyone else can share their screens. We can watch anyone who wants to be remote present their final projects. Oh, the formatting got terrible on this. It does not look bad in Word. I blame D2L for this. It should not have dropped my L there. Anyway, so we go through most of the early chapters. We skip just a little bit through here with chapter 6. It's about debugging, and we're going to kind of do that throughout anyway. So we don't need to spend a whole lot of time just on that chapter. I'll talk you through all the debugging stuff. And then we do 7 and 8, and then we stop because it gets further into object-oriented programming, more about classes and interfaces and things we don't need. So the inheritance is just enough so that we can do our graphical user interface applications later on. Arrays is chapter 11. Chapter 12, we're only going to pick up the array list section of chapter 12. That's the only time we kind of double up, but they're very, very similar, and then we forget the rest of the chapter. So it's just a little bit there. Don't worry about it. You don't have to read 2 chapters because they do get a little wordy. And then we skip a little bit again, do file input and output. We do exceptions from chapter 16, and then Java FX is our graphical user interface tool that we're going to use. Java FX is the newer version. There's also a chapter on Swing, the older style. We're not going to bother. If you can learn this one, you can be able to do Swing, but Swing doesn't have the cool Scenebuilder tool, so you can drag and drop stuff onto your page. And I'm all about making things easy. So if I can drag and drop stuff, that's what we're going to do. We got Thanksgiving break, and then we come back and we pick up our final project. Actually, so we'll start it before Thanksgiving. If you want that time, go for it. I don't expect a lot of people to really get started until the week we get back, but at least you can get started on it here. I'll tell you what it all is, and you can look at it. So we'll spend more time on Java FX for these other sessions here, some supplemental stuff, going a little deeper into some other cool tools and techniques, because all we get is one chapter in the text on it. So I want to show you some other cool things we can do with it. That's all supplemental material, and I don't plan on running this lecture time where I sit and talk, or stand and talk, I guess, all that long, so you'll have time to work on the final project, because we're going to be doing it in pairs. You'll get better code working with other people and a better output when you work with people. So we're going to try and pair up for this final project and work in pairs for this. Being able to collaborate with somebody as a software developer is really cool. It's actually really boring and lonely, as much as they like to joke about us all being introverts and sitting in dark closets. Working with a partner or with a team is really cool. You get to bounce ideas off of each other. It helps you find possible problems sooner, because you might have thought this might be my approach to solve a problem, and we talk about it and you realize that, okay, that wasn't going to work very well. So starting to work in teams is huge. So I'm going to try and pair everyone up. Ideally, if you like to come in person, you pair with someone who's here in person. If you like to be remote, you pair with somebody who likes to be remote. If you're asynchronous, try and find somebody who has a similar schedule to you. So I'll put a forum out there on D2L so you folks can meet up there and figure that out. And that should go really well. I know some people hate working in pairs, and sometimes it's difficult. But these last couple weeks here, we're not going to go the whole time. So I'll maybe talk for an hour, and then you'll have the second hour to work on the project. So we'll have in class here probably at least 4 hours for these weeks. This last week here, I have nothing planned to talk about. So it's just set aside for you and your partner to work on the final project, and I can walk around the class, or I can hop on screen sharing sessions if you're remote and help you out with things. The goal is everyone presents a successful project and gets 100% on it. That would seriously make me happy. Like, I don't like taking points off on these final projects. I want everyone to have a final result that they're proud of. And it's not the most interesting project because we're only coding for 1 semester, but have something that works, something that runs that you can do. And I'm going to answer your questions. Yeah.
Is that a group project you said, or not a group?
Pairs.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. More than that gets a little bit tricky, and it's not large enough really for like 3 people to do all sorts of stuff. So if we have an odd number, might have one group of 3. We'll have to see. Typically, by halfway through, we've had some people drop. So I'm not worried about the numbers right now to figure out whether or not we're odd or even. So once we get closer to this and we see who's actually sticking with it. I don't know if it's, I'm assuming it's the pandemic, but over the last year, as I've been teaching here at OCC remotely, I've had maybe a third to a half of the class drop throughout the semester, which seems super high. So I know life happens and whatnot. I had to drop the class I was taking for my doctoral program because I just can't do this remote online learning thing. I have to sit in a seat and be there because otherwise I'm out on Facebook or doing something, not paying attention. So I know how that goes. All right, so that's the plan for the next 17 weeks, I guess, total from now until December 20th. Get 17 weeks. Is that a question? You're just stretching in the back? All right, cool. Feel free to holler at me. I'm usually looking at my computer so I can kind of see through my peripheral vision if you're raising your hand, but I'm super informal, so you're welcome to just shout at me, catch my attention. Eric is fine. You don't have to call me Professor Charneski or anything. I know that's a mouthful. So whatever you're comfortable with, I'm good with, and we'll make that work. All right. Questions about the syllabus so far? We okay? Pretty standard, I'd hope. Okay. So there will be later today a syllabus quiz in D2L for you to take. It's free points, right? But it's asking you things about the syllabus. And the last question is you agreeing to the academic integrity policy saying you won't cheat or plagiarize or you'll fail and get reported to the dean. Sadly, I have that because I've had people yell at me before and complain to my dean that they failed the class for cheating, and they said they didn't know that was the policy. And I said, it was in the syllabus and I said it. And I said, well, I didn't know that. So now everyone takes a quiz and acknowledges it and writes that, yes, they understand what the policy is. So that all goes with my paperwork to the dean when you cheat and fail. Not that you folks would do that, but this is the packet I have to do for people, and it's awful. All sorts of paperwork. Hi, you here for 1500?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so you should be able to log into the computers with your MyOCC username and password. Right, you should have gotten there. And then it should launch the Horizon VMware client, or it should have an option for you to launch it. They said it's automatic. I don't know how automatic it actually is.
They force you into it as soon.
Okay.
It logs into a guest account.
Yep.
It forces that onto you to log in.
Okay, sweet. Can't. Seriously? Okay. Doesn't like this, probably because I'm here on campus. That's awful. That's awful. All right, I've not actually done this from campus before, so this is different. Let me see what the knowledge base says. Yep. Yeah, apps. Okay, so that's okay. That was the right site. So it should be able to, the PC either is going to automatically log you on, or you can log on with your MyOCC username and password, and then it'll launch this Horizon VMware client that you can log into.
Yeah, mine hasn't launched right
Okay, do you see an icon on the desktop for it? Horizon VMware client. It'll look like this green one, the Horizon VMware Horizon client. You don't have that?
Yeah, I don't have it either.
Is it like in the start menu?
I'm trying to search for
Nothing? That's fantastic. Anything in the start menu? This is new this semester. Supposed to work. All right, why don't we take a break? I don't like talking all the way through, so why don't we take a couple minutes, and I'll walk around and help anybody who needs to. We'll come back in, say, like 10 minutes or so. Go get some water, go outside and breathe, do what you got to do. All right. Let's do, say, just come back at 11. All right. You can even put on some music too. right. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Yeah, oh, so 24 people. So that one is full. But this room seats 27. So, and again, we had 19 and there's not 19 of you. So I imagine if you want to come Tuesday night, that won't be a problem. Whatever works better. Or just watch the videos asynchronously. That's up to you as well. All right, so if you don't have the VMware client installed, you're just going to not go through the VMware client. If you do have the Horizon VMware client installed, you'll log in, and then you'll do all these exact same things. So it's just a virtual desktop, and what's cool is that you can use the same thing at home if you want, instead of installing all the software. It's not the worst thing in the world to install all this. So whatever you prefer, if you want to use the VMware client, go for it. If you want to install it all yourself, go for it. Whatever's going to work easier for you. Excuse me. So again, make the GitHub account, download the GitHub desktop client, and log in. Life will be good. That one's pretty straightforward. The OpenJDK is a little zip folder we're going to download. So we're going to use the latest version here, version 16. So it's all installed on these computers now. This is for when you want to do it at home on your own computer. You'll go to the latest version here, and if you're on Mac, you'll grab the Mac one. If you're on Windows, you grab the Windows one, right? So ours is the Windows zip, and it just downloads a little zip file here. That is taking way too long. I'll cancel that. I've got it already in my downloads. Windows zip or Mac, whichever one you're using. You'll just download that. And let me grab. Here we go. So it'll be an OpenJDK version 16, whatever here, zip file. So what you're going to do, you're going to extract it to basically anywhere you want to put it. I made a folder so that it matches the VMware client on my own computer. So before I extracted that, actually, I made a folder. You can put it anywhere you want, but if everyone does the same thing, it works a little nicer for us. So if you just go to your C drive, you can make a folder called OpenDev if you want to match what the VMware client does. You just right-click and say New Folder. And that's where we're going to put all of our tools. So I install everything for class here in this OpenDev folder, just so it matches the VMware client, and it makes me happy. Okay, so once you have that folder, then you can go do the extract. Right-click, extract all. Go tell it to go find that OpenDev folder, right? And it will put it all in a folder here for you. Life is good. Not too bad. Then you get the JDK. Mine's 16.0.1. It's probably the same one now. I don't see another trailing number there right now. Oh, it looks like 16.0.2 is now the latest. But either one will be fine. Not going to be a big deal there. Inside of here is all of the Java stuff. Right, so this is the Java Development Kit. That's JDK. There's also a JRE, or the Java Runtime Environment. So if computers only need to run Java, they need the Java Runtime Environment. If you're going to develop Java code, you need the Development Kit. So the Development Kit comes with some other cool tools here, like Java C. This is the Java compiler. We don't ever have to do this by hand. It's a big pain. It's not even the worst thing in the world, but it's obnoxious. We're never going to do it by hand. Our IDE, our Integrated Development Environment, is going to do all this cool stuff for us. We're going to tell Netbeans, hey, this is where Java is, and it will do the rest. That's pretty cool. So we'll download the JDK. You don't need the JFX yet. We can go do that when we actually get to the graphical user interface applications, but it's the same thing. We'll go to download. Now with this one, we want to make sure we get the same version. So the JDK was 16. So you don't want the Java FX 11. Ignore 11, because that's not the same as 16. So just scroll down a little bit, and then you get 16. Right? And you just need the SDK of this one. Again, we'll talk more about this when we get there with that, but it's the same thing. It's a zip file. You download it, you extract it to OpenDev. Life is good. And we'll do that when we get to the Java FX stuff. Scenebuilder is actually an install tool. Installs like normal, like all the other tools. It's not a zip file you have to extract or anything. This one's normal. That one's a little easier. And again, we'll get to that when we get there. Or it's all on the VMware client. All right, so once that's there, then we go to Netbeans, and we're going to install Netbeans. You will just want whatever this first one is here, version 12 something or other. You're good. Go to download. This one's a nice little installer. I don't use the zip one. I use the installer, because the installer is usually easier. Okay, if you want to download the zip and unzip it, that's fine, but then you don't get the nice pretty shortcuts in Windows, the start menu. Use the installer. Once that's installed, you can go to start and start typing Netbeans. It looks like 12.3 is installed, is what I saw from a couple of you. Excuse me. Man, it'd be nice if I could have my coffee. 12.4 seemed to have fixed an issue or two I was having with some people. And I had it myself on my workstation. If we run into it, we'll take care of it. But it did work for other people too, so I'm not entirely sure what it was. But Netbeans is what we're going to use to write our Java programs. And this does take a little while to load. It's not the fastest tool out there. So if you all want to launch Netbeans, you can write your very first Java program today before we get out of here. It won't be very exciting, but we'll do the very first program that everyone ever does. And if you start it now, it might actually open in the next 2 or 3 minutes. OBS is also a hog on my laptop here, so hopefully it's a little faster for you folks. All right. It's just like Windows. It looks like it's loaded, but it's not. I put the dark mode view on Netbeans because that's what I prefer. You can use whatever you prefer. You don't have to flip it over to dark mode. That's just what I like. Close the project. All right, so it should start off be open and blank and empty. The section over here on the left is the project view. This is going to be our favorite view for navigating our projects. Everything in the middle is like quick access shortcuts. I usually ignore this page, but some people like the recent project and they just click them, whatever you like. So to make a new Java project, we're going to go to File, New Project, and you should have a bunch of options here in the list. We want to find the one that's Java with Ant. That'll be the easiest one for us. So you find Java with Ant, Java application.
Next.
Yep. Yeah, I was making sure. I'm waiting for clicks. Go to next. And then a couple things here are important. The project name, whatever name you give it here, don't put spaces in. Right? No spaces, please. It'll make life easier for you. You can name them anything you want. If you're working on the Project Zero assignment, you should probably call it Project Zero. I can find it anyway, but it'll just make life a little easier here. So for ours, our very first one here, someone started the tradition, I don't know when, the very first program you ever write is called Hello World. So we call this one Hello World for the project name. And then the location right now doesn't matter. It'll matter in a little while after we get set up with GitHub. We haven't done that yet, so wherever it wants to put it is fine. I'm just gonna go. I've got usually like puts it in like a Netbeans folder or something. I'm just gonna put it on my desktop for now. I don't care. So I'm gonna say from my desktop. That's fine. It'll make a Hello World project. What it does in Netbeans is every time you make a new project, it makes a folder and sticks all of your project stuff inside of that folder. It's really nice and helpful. So it's saying it's gonna make a folder called Hello World on my desktop. Cool. That's nice. Don't click this box ever. Let's use dedicated folder for storing libraries. Just don't click it, and life is good. And then the create main class, you do want this one checked because it's going to automatically write some stuff for us. So we don't have to do anything by hand. All good developers are lazy, And I mean that in the nicest sense, in that we don't want to do more work than we need to do. So if there's a way for the tool to do the work for us, we're going to let the tool do the hard stuff, the tedious stuff, the boring stuff. We're going to do the interesting stuff that the computer doesn't know how to do yet. All right, so we got a project ready to go. We say finish, and it's going to make a bunch of things. Takes a second here. So over in the project view, you're going to see Hello World, and you can open that up. These little triangles here are to open. You can open up Hello World. You can open up source packages, open up the Hello World folder. So this is just a folder here, and then there's a hello world.java. So .java, those are our Java code files where we're going to write our Java code. Java code is written in English. There's probably ways to write it in other languages. I've never actually thought of that or tried. But we're going to write our code in English, and life is good. It adds in a bunch of default stuff. Yours should look pretty similar. The author is probably different here. You probably have your own username in there, possibly, or CWCIS or something. That's cool. It doesn't matter. So a bunch of things happen here. We'll talk more about this on Wednesday, what all this Java code means, and we'll get there in a second. But we're going to come down to this line where it says public static void main parenthesis string. These are square braces, args, end parenthesis, open curly brace. So Java is big on syntax. So these are curly braces. That's the shift square brace of these ones. And then there's parentheses as well. They all do different things. We'll get to that when we get there. Right. So what we want to do, we go right to this line that says // to do code application logic here. That's where we're going to start. So we can just get rid of what's there. And then, again, I mentioned I'm lazy, like all good developers. I don't like typing more than I need to, so there's a cool shortcut in Netbeans. Usually what you have to type is system.out.println. That's really obnoxious to type all that, right? So system, and it is case sensitive as well. So capital S system dot lowercase out dot lowercase println, and then a set of parentheses. In there, inside the parentheses now, we're going to put some quotes. So a starting quote, and it should automatically put in the ending quote for you because, again, Netbeans is written by developers for developers. And if you start a quote, you're going to end one, so they just put it in for you. Inside of the quotes here is where we're going to write what we want to show on our screen. So system.out.println or print line is going to print something to the screen. And in quotes, we're going to tell it what we want it to print. So we're going to say, hello world. This is telling Java that we want it to print hello world to the screen. Super fancy. This is our very first program. I don't know who came up with it, but any language you learn will always take you through, this is how you do hello world first. If you got some red lines somewhere, right? If you have one of these was like uppercase or lowercase or something, it's going to be upset. And you'll get a nice big red line. It'll say it can't find symbol. You'll hate this error. Anytime Netbeans doesn't recognize something, it says it can't find it. So just make sure it's lowercase. System.out.println. Everyone get rid of all the red lines.
It's like a red box.
It's probably upset with it. Did you put quotes in?
Yeah, I did put quotes.
If you hover over it, does it give you a message?
No,
Huh, let me come see. That's weird. Oh, and so it's just highlighting it to say that you're in. Click off of it. No? It's trying to be helpful. That's all good.
Also, how do you change it to dark mode?
There's a plugin you can install,
Okay.
or there's supposed to be an easier way, but I haven't figured out yet.
I found out instantly how to make the code dark mode. You see up top, they just line up stuff under tools,
Yeah.
options all the way down at the very bottom,
Okay.
and then fonts and colors,
That's just the code, though, right? It doesn't change everything for you.
and then yeah, it just changes colors, dark mode, that kind of stuff.
Do you have a dark option?
Mine was
Oh, is that Norway Today? I'm using Norway today. So if you want to change it, yeah. I know how to do it. Cool. Thought I was using the Darkula. I learned something. All right, so if you got to here and there's no other errors, you're going to have a couple buttons up here at the top. The big play button here is the run. This will run our project. So you click on run, and in the lower section here, this is your output. It should do something. Give it a second here. It's waking up. All right. Mine's being stupid. It should run for you. You should see Hello World down here. Mine is confused. You guys get Hello World? All right. Mine's just done. Oh my goodness. It is active. All right. Mine hates me sometimes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Too. What do you type after print?
So print ln.
LN?
Yeah, L
L capital?
lowercase.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
So just print.
Yep. All right. So hopefully you should get Hello World. All right. Yeah, let me see.
Going now? I am Ella. Brilliant Ella. Brilliant.
Okay, I found it. I had space.
Oh, good.
Yeah, mine's like shift it over to
All right. Is that a little small on the screen? I can make my font a little bigger here. Yeah. All right. I can come look at it in a second. Let's make my font here a little bigger. Like 28. Is that any better? Sometimes it's a little hard to see. All right. So just by running this, a whole bunch of stuff gets created here. So there's the project view over here on the left. You can also go to file view, and file view is going to give us a view of actually what's in the folder here. So if you open it up, you'll see there's a bunch of things. So build is all the things that got created by Netbeans when we built the project to run it. So Java is a compiled language, meaning it takes this English version code here and it turns it into something else to go and run it. What it turns it into is Java bytecode. There's a file called .class. It's going to match the name of our file in source over here. We have a helloworld.java. The Java compiler takes Java code, turns it into Java bytecode. One of the cool things about Java is it's cross-platform. There are, last they advertised, billions of devices in the world that will run Java. So any device that has a Java runtime environment installed should be able to take a .class file and run it. So it doesn't need to be specific for Windows. It doesn't need to be specific for Mac. It doesn't need to be specific for Linux. It doesn't need to be specific for some sort of small little IoT device. Right? If you have the Java runtime environment, which Oracle and the fine folks at Java spend a lot of time making sure these runtime environments work on computers, it can run Java code. So what we get is this this class file, which is the bytecode. This is what actually gets executed. So a bunch of stuff happens behind the scenes, turns our code into a class file, and the class file is what's run. So that's in build. The NB project is for Netbeans project. Everything in here is just Netbeans related, so that it knows that this is a project that you can open up and it will have all the properties and things in there. Anything in here is perfectly fine. We're going to ignore it. So build is fine. NB project is fine. That's all generated stuff. What we care about is stuff in the SRC or source folder. This is where all of our code is going to show up automatically for us. And there's also a build and a manifest file. So we ignore everything essentially but the Java file. Everything else is so that Netbeans can make life easy for us. But you're going to see it all there. So the project view, all you see is your Java files, because that's the stuff we actually use and care about, right? So the file view, if you're seeing all this other junk, just go back over to project view and life will be easier. So what we're going to do is for every project, we'll have a new Java project in Netbeans, or a new Netbeans project with its own Java file. When Java runs, it looks for this thing, public static void main string args, and if this is where it knows where to start. So this is the start of our Java programs. So everything we're going to do is going to start inside of public static void main string args. Please don't memorize it. It's not worth it. I mentioned there was a shortcut. Instead of having to type system.out.println, if you type SOUT and then hit tab, Netbeans will autocomplete it for you and say, oh, you want system.out.println. So SOUT and then a tab should autocomplete it for you. Netbeans is full of helpful shortcuts to make life easier. Okay? Or you can just copy paste. Right? If you don't want to type that, you can grab an entire line, right? Copy paste it in here. And we can say like, oh, hello, computer. SOUT, S out for system out, S out tab. Yep. Yeah, so everything we're doing is inside the set of curly braces, inside a main. Yep. And you can pretend to have a silly little conversation with your computer if you want. Right. Every system.out.println is going to print on a new line. That's the print ln for line. Will print a new line. And you run it, or click the play. It goes through, it compiles. So you can kind of see Netbeans is nice. It tells you what it does. So it cleans up beforehand, then it updates, and it compiles, and then it runs your program. And all the things you tell it to print should show up on the console here. So these console applications are ugly and boring, but we're going to spend about 10 weeks or so doing everything here in the console before we get to graphical user interface applications. But that's okay. You probably don't ever use console applications day to day. That's fine. But we'll get there. We got to start somewhere. All right, so on Wednesday, we're going to actually get into chapter 1 of the textbook. It'd be good to have your book by then. Again, the idea is every chapter we have of text that we're covering, we'll have a quiz on afterwards. You'll have a week to do the quizzes. They're open book, open notes, open internet. That's your incentive to read. I'll post the syllabus quiz in a little while after we're done here. Again, a week on that. There's no big rush on that. Just ask you a couple questions. Make sure you read it and then acknowledge our academic integrity policy. In the future, if you want to attend live in person, great, I'll be here. If you want to attend live remotely, you can hop on Twitch. The one downside with Twitch is it's chat only. I don't hear your voice, so you have to chat questions in. Most people were perfectly fine with that during the pandemic. I didn't have any issues. If that's a big problem, we can also hop on a Discord voice channel, and then I can actually hear your voice. But that's, yeah, we can look at that if we need to. Or you're welcome to watch the recordings afterwards. You can find them on Twitch for 45 days, or I'm going to export them all out to YouTube, and then I'll put links in Desire to Learn. Back to our course here. I'll have an entire section in D2L here for the lecture archives. I'm going to add a little module here. And I'll just post the link to all the YouTubes right here. It takes the export maybe 15 minutes, and then YouTube takes another maybe 15 minutes to process it.
Same day you'll be posting, like today's lecture will be posted today.
Yeah, well, so if you go to Twitch, it's there now. If you want to watch it on YouTube, it takes the like 15-minute export and process time. Takes it just a little bit of time. Yeah, same day for sure. Yep, and if you don't see it, yell at me. I probably just forgot to post the link. But hopefully now with being here, it's a little easier to have a routine and things, so should go pretty well. All right, that's all I've got for today. If you got Hello World running, awesome, you wrote your first program. By the end of the semester, we'll write more interesting stuff. Again, it's only our first semester coding, so we'll go from there. I've got a little bio out here if you're curious. I didn't actually introduce myself. I assumed you Googled me. That's like you do with all your profs, right? Or at least check Rate My Professor or something.
Yeah.
I'm the only Eric Chinesky out there, so I'm not hard to find. I do have 6 kids at home. They keep me rather busy. So my cell phone number out there, you're welcome to call. I'm usually up by 8 in the morning, and I'm up till at least midnight. So anytime between 8 and midnight, you're welcome to call, text, whatever you want to do. Email's fine. You can find me on Discord. If you join the Discord server, you can tag me there, direct message me there. Discord has some great built-in screen sharing. Zoom is fine for screen sharing too. I have a Zoom room we can use if you prefer that. But I'm here to help. I don't like to say my role is teaching. My role here is to help you learn it. Right, so I'm going to pull out all the highlights, show you all the stuff, and help you learn it. Because everybody learns a little bit differently, right? So use the book, read the book, come to class, practice the things. We'll go from there. And I think that's it then. So I'll post something. I would encourage you folks to partner up, meet somebody in class, ask them questions. That's perfectly fine. That's because as we work towards the final project, you'll be paired with somebody, and I'll let you choose your own pairings. I don't care. So if you meet somebody and you're comfortable with them and you think you could work well with them, great. So get to know each other. So I'll post a forum out here. Not required discussions, but just if you folks want to post out there, only the class has access to D2L, right? Discord is public, Twitch is public, so you can use the class forum if you want there, or Discord's fine too. All right, that's all I got then. So if you want to stick around if you're having any trouble, let me know. If not, we'll pick it up Wednesday with Chapter 1.